What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Save Point Podcast, episode 4. I am Alex, and happy Saturday once again. Thank you all so much for being here. Obviously, this is our Saturday show. I don't know how much longer I need to have, like, an insanely long opening. Just, I guess, to make sure everybody's up to speed, though, just for any new people, though. Obviously, this is a show that airs every single Saturday on YouTube, and it also premieres on Podbean, which is like and you could download that on any kind of phone that you have. It is a podcasting, I guess, a hosting site. We're still working on the iTunes stuff. I don't know what the heck's going on over there. So it will eventually be available on iTunes, but right now you can download the Podbean app, which has a lot of other podcasts on it in general, and you could listen to it, I believe, ad-free on there, okay? So this is going to be a there's the sign, Halloween-centric episode, and the reasoning for that is next week is going to be mainly DC fandom oriented. I'll be talking about DC fandom on the show, and we're going to live stream next week as well. So next week there's going to be like 3 or 4 different DC fandom specific, things. So we're going to do that. And then the week after, I hope to do like House of Ashes because that comes out on the Friday. I'll try to beat it as quickly as possible and then do kind of a full review on that. And then maybe the week after could probably be like Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm going to, I got kind of ideas of what the next several episodes are. I wanted to do a Halloween or a horror-centric episode of, the Save Point podcast. And so here we are. So I want to talk about just my favorite kinds of horror, mainly games. We can talk about movies very briefly as well. There's not a lot of them that I can talk about. And then, again, I asked you guys on the community tab in terms of is there any, Halloween or horror style questions or comments that you have, and I'll read some of those as well. So to start, well, really quickly, just to get movies out of the way, in case anybody that is interested in the movie part, I don't even know what kind of show this is. Is it just for games? Can it also be movies? You guys know Scream is my favorite, movie franchise, or not my favorite movie franchise, my favorite horror movie franchise. It's definitely in the top 5 or 6 for movie franchises, maybe in all, but that would be that one. In terms of games, man, oh man. So the movie stuff actually does come into play here because I am a big baby in terms of horror. Okay, I'm scared of, well, I guess I would say scared. I don't really even put myself through like the test to see if I can handle it. I don't go to like haunted mansions or haunted houses, those kind of things you can pay to just get tortured in and have people like chase you around. I don't do that stuff. I've been offered, I've been asked by my friends, and I've just never wanted to do it. I'm too afraid of that stuff. And again, I don't even know if I would be afraid. It's just I don't even want to put myself through it. And then movies, I guess I can handle like gory stuff. Like I've seen Saws and stuff like that. Scream, more of like just a smart kind of movie. But then in terms of, I don't know. Well, it depends on what kind of horror you're talking about. But I don't like jump scares. I don't like to necessarily be scared. I don't like to like walk around a corner and Christy jumps out and shouts boo, which she does do sometimes just to like kill me. And I don't like that. That's not something that I enjoy doing. But games, interestingly enough, my passion for the art, for the for the genre of just video games in general, is so powerful that I do put myself through some of the worst things humanly possible. Now, I haven't really encountered VR stuff. The closest I've gotten to VR is I played Resident Evil 7, quite a bit of it in VR. Oh, I hated it. I hated it as in like, I mean, it's real. It's real. I'm trying to think. Until Dawn Rush of Blood was another VR game for the PSVR that I thought was really well done. Again, there was some of the jump scares there. Not a big fan of that, but I put myself through it. Not really VR related, but everything else related. I mean, PT. My favorite story with PT, which could be in terms of like what's the scariest thing I've ever done in terms of like games. I think it's PT. I do. I think Outlast is probably close. Maybe I'm trying to think of anything else. Like Amnesia was a very scary kind of game. I haven't played them all yet. Like there's that game Visage, which I've been told for a very long time to pay attention to the game, and I believe that game comes to Game Pass maybe this week, maybe next week. So maybe I will try because that game is supposed to be like insanely terrifying. So I don't, there's a lot of indie games that do the horror games, I guess specifically, that do a really good job, and I haven't really necessarily gone into them. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, do you count that? But my favorite PT story is I knew the hype. The internet was around, and I didn't have a channel, I don't think. So I was just, I would just go online, and all these people were so into it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. So I downloaded it. And I remember I was in my room in my parents' house, and that room is occupied now by my sister, and my parents' house is still there. But I was sitting on the bed, on my bed, and my TV's in front of me, and I'm playing the game. And one of the first times that you like turn the corner and it's just kind of dark and you hear like the baby crying, I sat there and just stared at it. And I believe it was for 18 minutes. And I think I even paused the game. And I just stared. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I was sitting on my bed. So I laid down at some point. And I was like, do I want to continue this? Because this game is freaking terrifying. And I made my way through most of it, but you know what? The ending of like seeing Norman Reedus and stuff, I never got that on my own. I never, did the right things or whatever, but I would get to like where just the game gets messed up. There's hanging bodies and the girl's like behind you the whole time. I mean, it's just ridiculous how terrifying that game is. So that's my favorite PT story. Is just I was so afraid to play it. I just stared. For a long time, it wasn't even paused. It was just playing. And I was like, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going down that hallway. The door is right there. It's lit. And then there's the hallway that's dark. And it's like, but I don't want to walk through the hall. So I'm just not going to. And I didn't for like 20 minutes. And that's my story. So, that's a great game. Outlast, now, there were several people that asked me about Outlast in the community tab, so I'll say a couple things, and if I miss anything, we can maybe circle back to it. I really like both of them. I love 2, like, quite a bit. I don't think 2 is, like, a perfect game. It's very weird. It's very different. I get why people don't like it. I actually really like the school segments. I think Parker, right? You said you don't like it. That's fine, and see, I can talk to people individually in these videos. That's fine. Myself, I actually liked it the most. I thought that the priest, the religious just aspect of it was cool and different, and we don't really see that happening in games very much, but it was just weird. Some of it got like repetitive and boring to me. It just wasn't as interesting. And then when you get transported into the school, I would say it was more of like a pure, like a haunting horror game. And I really liked the horror element. Maybe not like the story of what they were doing, but the horror elements of the school, basically just being ghosts, right, haunting you, and being very dark for most of the time, was very cool. I really, really liked it. Trying to think of what else. Amnesia. I would say, so like growing up, and I didn't have consoles I had consoles, but like I wasn't much of a gamer. I've talked about that before. And, the PS3 was like the first main, I had the Wii, but the PS3 was like the first console that was like mine, and I would play it like nonstop, and I got a lot of games for it, like 200 plus. Because I have some of them, not like disc, not even digital. I had a lot of discs of PS3. And so the PS3 onward, Amnesia would probably, and Amnesia I don't think it was even on it, but it was on PC. Amnesia was probably one of the first ones that, and I wasn't PewDiePie, right? Because PewDiePie kind of gained fame from playing Amnesia. For me, I remember I just found, I think the guy was, and I don't know who this is, and I think I've told this story before. I feel bad because I loved whatever YouTuber that was doing like a walkthrough narrative thing of Amnesia. I really liked it. And I think he was British, and he would narrate, and he would talk. He had his own personality a little bit, and then he would read out everything that you see in the game. And I do remember, again, funny story, there was a point in his walkthroughs where I guess he asked people, or he just decided on his own, because there was a point in his walkthroughs where he stopped talking. It became like a silent, it was just the game. It wasn't him narrating. And I remember like seeing the comments, and everybody was like, why did you do that? Like, nobody wants this. And I think he just kept doing it. And this was, even when I saw this was years after Amnesia had come out, probably 2, 3, 4 years. And so like it was too late for me to have a voice in whether I want. But that was just a funny story. I really liked that guy. I have no idea what his name was, no idea what his YouTube channel was. But then he just stopped doing like his voice and his person, and then it just became really it wasn't the same. But that was the first time I ever saw Amnesia, and I pitched the idea to my friend because I was watching it at home, and I would sleep over his house. And I pitched him the idea of this game. I told him about it, like its name, what it's about, that I was watching this guy play it. And I was like, we should try it. We should play it. And we played it. And it was terrifying. And that was another one that I don't think I ever got. I know how it goes, but I don't think I ever got all the way through. Five Nights at Freddy's, I played that one. That was actually, I've told you guys the story before. If you go all the way back to like the beginning of podcasts now, I think City Skylines is the first game we ever played, maybe the first video ever on the channel. There is maybe a 2-3-parter Five Nights at Freddy's playthrough with me and my friend Nick, and so you can watch that. I think it's still up. I don't think I took it down or anything. So we played, and that was the first time, truly, like I knew about the game, but I would say back, so it was April 2015, so 6.5 years ago that I played Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time. And that was that. So I love horror games. I don't know why. Oh, I don't want to let this go. Until Dawn is phenomenal. It's probably, maybe that one is my, in terms of like scary, it's probably PT. In terms of just incredible, like they know what they're doing, they know what the game is, which Until Dawn absolutely does know what the game is. I don't really know any game that does it better. It still holds up now. I think I played it 2 years ago on a live stream. Maybe it was 3 years ago. Jesus, it's been a long time. I think it was 3 years ago I played Until Dawn, and I love that game to death. That's one of the best PS4 games. That's one of the most underrated games. You could all these categories of awards I would give Until Dawn. So, I have way more of like a repertoire and more things I can talk about gaming-wise with horror, just because, like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, like all of these franchises. I can talk about them way more than I can talk about movies. Like like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like all that stuff. Like I can talk about it, Hellraiser, but like I haven't watched all of them. Like some of these franchises have like 50 entries in them. For games, it is more, but again, I do want to make it clear, like there is, I think, there's indie games are very special, and they're very special to me, and I've always talked about how much I've made the channel. I've tried to talk about smaller games, and even though some of the smaller games turn out to be bigger, I mean I love playing smaller indie titles, and they're very special, and they're very good, and they're very creative. Horror stuff, that's that definitely is a unique category of indies where they're just really good. So I am sure, again, there's many indie horror games, or even just bigger franchise horror games that I've never played before, and for whatever reason, I still don't like it. Like I don't like putting myself through it. Outlast 2 scared the living Jesus out of it. It actually scared God and religion out of me. I'm just kidding, but like it was crazy. I remember that one. I was playing with my two friends, Nick again. And I was sitting in my basement. We were all sitting in the basement. We had the lights turned off. I mean, it was just so I hated it at a point. Because I would die or I would hide. I don't remember. Like, could you hide in barrels? But a lot Outlast is pretty much just about hiding from things, right? I remember just hiding and staying put for long. So again, like just like PT, the reason it takes me so long to beat games like Outlast, let's say, is because instead of just like dealing with it, or maybe there's a faster way around, I will literally sit in a hidden area where I know that like I'm just safe no matter what in this area, and I will sit there for a way too long of a time, and I will just accept it. You know what I mean? So that's how I do it. Okay, so that's really my experience with that. So I'm gonna go through any of these that seem like it's I guess relevant for today's topic. Fat Man Beyond Talks, who is also a patron supporter, so thank you very much. By the way, if you've made it this far, I really should have said this in the beginning of the video, but I forgot because I got to plug this stuff. Remember, if you are a supporter through Patreon or YouTube memberships, you give the $2 or the $5, your comments are guaranteed to be read on the show. Your topics are more guaranteed to be picked on the weeks that I don't have a topic. So just in case you guys you didn't know that, now you do. Even if you give $2 a month, you would be kind of guaranteed to be featured on the show. So he said, have you played Outlast 2? It's probably my favorite horror game. So yeah, I wanted to give him the shout out for the support and also for that comment. Again, yeah, it's not my favorite. It's definitely not my favorite. I think Until Dawn really probably is my favorite. I really think so. Amnesia will always hold a special place in my heart just because of that YouTube adventure that I was telling you guys about. That's it. It sounds so meaningless, and I don't remember anything about this guy. I could not find him now, even if I try. In fact, a few years ago, my desire to find this guy was so high, I did look, and I could not find him. I could not find the person I was talking about, and I doubt anybody else is going to be able to find him. He probably doesn't. A lot of the stuff that pops up with the walkthroughs of certain games, channels that do it, a lot of those are channels that made it big in that time and then just stopped for whatever reason, or some reason or another, from that point on. So that's I think I'll always be very that'll always hold something in my heart. but I don't think it's my favorite one. Bread Troll, which is a great name. Favorite Silent Hill game. So can I cop out and say PT? So PT technically is Silent Hill. So here's the thing. Silent Hill has been a franchise that I respect a lot of. I've seen a lot of, but I've really rarely played any of them. Well, that's not true. I have played several of them, but I haven't played any of them enough to really like hold that much of a opinion on them. I think the original couple, like 2 or 3, are regarded as some of the better ones. I've played some of them. I've played parts of those. I've also played more of the the newer age ones where things just really started to fall apart. So I would say in terms of like what I've played the most, what I respect, but also like know about, it would honestly probably be PT if that's even allowed as an answer. But I'd say probably the original ones in terms of I don't know what everybody thinks. Nicholas FDO1A. Wow, that's a long name. In your opinion, why do you think Chris Columbus left the Five Nights at Freddy's movie still being worked with Blumhouse, and who do you guess is the best director to direct a horror movie like Five Nights at Freddy's, and the best actors? So, well, like that's funny. This is the Nick Cage one, right? The Nick Cage one is just something different. Now, I didn't watch it, but I watched Elvis the Alien, I think is his YouTube channel, right? I watched him go through it, so I pretty much saw the whole movie in a weird way. I love Nicolas Cage, but yeah, I really think there is. Well, that movie was so close to being a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I don't know why they just didn't go all the way, or maybe they didn't have the contract or the rights. But I mean, it's a franchise that I think is just like it's there for the taking. You know what I mean? It's such a simple premise. I guess maybe it's such a simple premise that does it really work as a movie, you could argue. Now, again, like this goes in the movie, area where I have less expertise, but in terms of directors, I like the 2 that are doing Scream and that have done Ready or Not. James Wan, obviously, is very, very good at what he does, and actually he's very good at a lot of different things that he does, so I would always go for that. And then, actors really would just be the one that's sitting there, which we don't really. And now, my lore of Five Nights at Freddy's is not good, so I don't know. Do you ever see the person that you're playing as? Do they even change? I don't even know those simple concepts. So really, it could be anybody. I really don't care who it is. Again, I think Nicolas Cage actually would have been fine for something like that. But yeah, I would. That's what I'd probably say the 2 that are doing Scream, James Wan, people, something like that, I think would be good for a director thing. And I guess the last thing, there was a couple more things. Zachary Bell said like Outlast 2 DLC you should play. I've never played. I don't think was DLC. So I don't even know there's DLC for 2. I know there's DLC for 1. I do want to talk about Jake Lloyd's thing. I did make a video on this, but this could be the last thing we talk about. Have you played the Alan Wake remaster yet? If so, what are your thoughts on it? Now, that comment was made before I did the video, so technically I already answered it in the video, but let me just talk about it a little bit here. I've played a little bit more from the time I did so I did a video talking about basically reviewing it, and a lot of it was just going based off of memory of the full game that I played years ago, which, by the way, that will always hold a special place in my heart too when we talk about horror things. Alan Wake is definitely up there. Not necessarily the most scary, not necessarily my favorite, but just I think the memory and the experience I had playing it, right? Just like I guess the nostalgia factor, again, playing with my friend Nick, and just all this, I don't know, just the memories of it. That elevates it up for me. Not to the top, but definitely up there. So, I did a video, and in that video, I had played the first like 3.5, 4 hours. I made it probably halfway through episode 3. At the time I'm recording now, I got like 10 minutes left in episode 4. Episode 3 is giant. It's really big, at least for me. For some reason, it took me a long time. And then, so I'm almost at the end of 4, but I've played this again, remember, years ago, back 10, 11 years ago. So for me, I really like it. I don't think it's a good remaster. I said that in that video, which maybe is a controversial thing, and not everybody actually has agreed with it. I know people were saying like there definitely is, like it does look better, like facial animations are better. I don't doubt it. And I actually said that in the video, right? I think if you were to put it, it's a weird, like, that's why I don't take the review too seriously, right? Because, well, and that's kind of weird for me to say, right? But, like, I said in that video, if you were to take this Alan Wake game and you put it with the old Alan Wake game, like an IGN side-by-side thing, I am sure there are, like leaps, better. and you could probably visually see it. But like just from what I remember of my experience, if you just jump into this one expecting something massively higher, to me, I don't get that at all. I think you maybe could have even fooled me and said, Alex, this is the 2010 or whatever, whenever it came out. This is that version of the game. It's just a port. And I don't know if I would have believed you fully, but I think I would have been like, oh, you could be right. So, and again, I don't think it's $30. It's $30 for the game and the 2 DLCs. And I love the game. I love it. And I wanted to experience it again. I don't really care what it was. And there is a little bit of gloss over it. I'm not going to say there's zero. So, you do get a little, you get extra stuff because of the DLCs. It's half the price of what the game was, 10, 11 years ago. And, yeah, and you get a little bit of a remaster there. I think, and again, I said in that video, are we spoiled with remakes, the remasters? Again, like it's easier, even like the Mass Effect one, you can clearly see like Mass Effect 1 to Legendary Edition's Mass Effect 1 is, it's big. It's not a remake, but they did say it's more of a remake than it's kind of in the middle, but it's maybe even more a remake than a remaster just because of all of the stuff they had to do. But also, that's an even older game. That's going back 3-4 years before Alan Wake, and there was a jump there. You know what I mean? Like, Alan Wake is just from a time that I don't even know if it's, like, when you say, like, you're going to remake or remaster a game, I still think, like, the 2009, maybe 10 on, like up to where we are now, is still a very gray area of do you need to do it? You know what I mean? Like if you were to remaster Infamous Second Son, which is a jump, right? That was 2014. Like, do you need to? Because it hasn't, like, will you be able to tell the improvements? Is it even worth it? That's a discussion I've had, before, but I really like it. I love the game originally. Again, it has really strong memories to me, and I love the game now. It does still have, I think, some of the same problems it had back in the day. Well, the story is just so confusing and so weird that, it's going to turn people off, I think, immediately. The combat's really good. I like the combat quite a bit. The running, it gets very annoying. I don't remember having that problem back then, and maybe it's because I was younger, didn't play as many games, but the running mechanics now are just absolutely horrible. And, I mean, there are some things, it does get pretty repetitive. There's just some segments. I actually would prefer shorter chapters in the game. Like, you could take some segments out because generally it just goes cutscene / setting up what you're doing, right? Some dialogue where you're not in darkness. And then the majority of it, like an hour-ish of it, is you're using the flashlight, you're using all the combat stuff, and you're just going through a somewhat linear path. And then at the ending, then you fight a boss. Maybe you fight a couple bosses, but then at the end there's another cutscene that kind of ends that episode, and it goes into the next episode. I think that gap, while there is some creativity with the combat that I really like, and the weapons are cool, like using a flashbang and a flare gun and stuff, is all really awesome. I don't know, there just becomes a point too where it's like, well, you keep, like, the enemies keep just coming from behind you, so you have to turn around, and the game will constantly warn you of that, so that gets repetitive. It does get repetitive. I think this game has a repetitive problem to it, and I remember thinking that back then. This is not like a new problem, but, not every game's perfect. Really, no game is perfect, and I never said this was my favorite game of all time or the best game ever. There were definitely problems. It was just a game that I think the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses, and I think it still does to this day. So if you didn't watch that review, that was there you go. There's kind of a mini review there. So get Alan Wake. It's a great Halloween game. I would say $30. Yet again, we were approaching more stuff coming out in terms of Halloween, right? Because we got Back for Blood on Tuesday, which I will be playing, and we also have a House of Ashes in 2 weeks. So that's pretty exciting as well. There's nothing coming out the last week, which I would have kind of preferred, right? Because you have Guardians. Guardians is the 26th, but like that's not a Halloween thing. So they kind of missed the big games out there, missed that as like a Halloween kind of thing you could have done, but it is what it is. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Again, the plan probably is next week is DC Fandom, week after is House of Ashes, week after is Guardians. Now again, you let me know anything else you want me to talk about. Those are the main topics. So I'll be reviewing House of Ashes in 2 weeks, and that'll be a 5, 6, 7 minute stretch, but anything else, is obviously up for you guys to tell me what to do. Again, questions or kind of subtopics as well. So let me know. Again, if you want to be sure to have your topic or whatever read, if you, then you have to support on Patreon or YouTube memberships. $2 a month or $5, either one would work, okay? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. We'll be back. Next week is not next Saturday. It'll be next Friday, around the same time, okay? So it'll be one day off, then we'll go back to the Saturday. So next Friday will be the next Save Point podcast, okay? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you there.